Welcome to episode 63 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. It's January 2nd, 1930. We're in Stirling at Forthbank, Kings Park versus Forfar Athletic in the Scottish Second Division. And today's story is the purest kind of football folklore, a record that exists because someone came to the match for the most ordinary reason in the world. Jimmy Dyet wasn't there to play. He was there to watch his brother, Gilbert Dyet, play as left half for Kings Park. That's the detail that turns this from record into legend. Because then the day veers into absurdity. The centre forward doesn't show. Kings Park are suddenly short. Then Gilbert has the brilliant idea of persuading Jimmy, his brother, to put on some boots and turn out. A spectator becomes a selection fix. Then the fix scores 8 goals. Not 8 across the season. 8 in one senior match, his debut, in a 12-2 win. If you're building an OTD episode from scratch, you could not script something cleaner than that. Now, what do we actually know about the match itself? Well, a contemporary report 2 days later framed it as a day where Forfar's defense cracks under pressure, and it highlights Dyet as a newcomer who quickly took the lead in the scoring as Kings Park ran away with it. And the scoreline is the part that still lands like a typo. Kings Park 12, Forfar Athletic 2. But the true shock is the distribution. 8 of the 12 are Dyet's. He scored 6 in first half alone. Scored the opening goal as well as the last goal of the match. That even was a converted penalty by a newcomer who wasn't even supposed to play. That's savage. That's legend. A British record for goals on the senior debut is one of those numbers that should belong to the early days of football mythology. And yet it sits there in black ink, attached to a man who, that morning, wasn't even expecting to lace up boots. This is where the story becomes even more football, because once you do something like this, your career becomes permanently shaped by one afternoon. Because Dyet does get pulled into the professional game. A couple of months later, he is signed by Falkirk, played one season there before he is snapped up by Dundee United. Here he adds some chapters to his legend. His first goal for Dundee United on Boxing Day 1931 sealed a 1-0 win against Celtic, and, you couldn't make this up, his last goal for Dundee United before he returns to Kings Park in 1933 is scored against none other than Forfar Athletic, the very opponents on this day in 1930, when Jimmy Dyet immortalized himself by scoring 8 goals in his accidental senior debut. So what should we take away from Jimmy Dyet and from the fact that his origin story begins with being a brother on the terrace? Oh, you know it. 3 takeaways. 1. Football's best myth often starts as logistics. No centre forward, a late gap, a familiar face, a brother who says, go on. Modern football is engineered, older football was sometimes improvised, and improvisation creates the conditions for legend. 2. Lower league football is where chaos can fully breathe. At that level, structure is thinner and variance is bigger. When a match turns, it can really turn, and Forfar's unlucky day becomes a runaway. And 3. One day can become a lifetime headline. Jimmy Dyet went on to have a real career, but if you score 8 on debut, that's the line that follows you forever. And finally, yes, there's another crazy story with an even larger number in the wider British football universe. On Easter Monday in 1936, Luton Town was short centre forwards and recalled a defender, Joe Payne, and asked him to play up front. He had never scored in the league before. You can already see where this is going. The story of Joe 10-goal Payne is an episode I'll tell you in April, properly, and with full match context and the aftermath. But on this day in 1930, Jimmy Dyet came to watch his brother, had to unexpectedly step up, then left with 8 goals and a record that refuses to die. That's all for episode 63 of OTD, the day a spectator became a striker and scored 8. If you know another story like this, the emergency selection, the accidental debut, the he wasn't even meant to play legend, email me at otd@17lawsguy.com. Please rate this show 5 stars, subscribe and tell a friend. This pod grows exactly only one way, listeners deciding it's worth sharing. Tomorrow, in episode 64, we'll go to 1973, the 3 versus the 6, and the bygone era of matches staged to mark political change, new borders, and a new Europe. See you then.